25-year-old Susan Tighe lived in Toronto, Canada. In 1983, she was a mother of 4 children and worked as a social worker. Her body was found in the upstairs bedroom of her recently purchased home on Grace Street on August 17, 1983. She had moved to Toronto from Calgary in July and separated from her husband, who was living in a downtown townhouse. By the time her body was found by a relative, mail had piled up outside her home. She had suffered multiple stab wounds to the chest, and an autopsy was unable to determine when exactly her life ended. Police admitted that they had few leads on the case. A detective said at the time, "We have no suspect at all." 4 months later, on December 20th, 1983, 22-year-old Aaron Gilmore's body was found in her Toronto apartment. A friend who went to pick her up for a cocktail party found Aaron's body. Like Susan Tighe, Aaron had been stabbed, assaulted, and found in her bedroom. Police canvassed the area, but to no avail. Aaron was a clothing designer from a wealthy family. Her father, David Gilmore, had been the business partner of tycoon Peter Munk, co-founder of the mining company Barrick Gold. It was Monk's son who found Aaron's body. For years, then decades, investigators knew little about what happened to Susan and Aaron, except that they suffered a similar fate. In 2008, advances in DNA technology brought a breakthrough, confirming through evidence at the scenes that one man was responsible for what happened to both Susan and Aaron. But it would take nearly 15 more years and even greater scientific advances to identify who he was. Recently, via a combination of advanced genetic sequencing, forensic genealogy, and traditional police work, investigators arrested 60-year-old Joseph George Sutherland from Mewson, Ontario, Canada, in connection with Susan and Aaron's cases. Mewson is a remote community far removed from the slayings that police alleged he committed nearly 40 years ago. Detective Sergeant Stephen Smith, the lead Toronto police investigator, speculated that Sutherland had been waiting for the knock to come at the door. Smith told reporters that a second phase of the investigation must now begin, a painstaking review of Sutherland's whereabouts in the intervening 39 years. Smith said, "Obviously, we're going to look into every possible connection to any possible case throughout Ontario to ensure that he isn't responsible for any other offenses. The cases are just the latest advances through genetic genealogy, a cutting-edge process that analysis now that Sutherland's fingerprints will be in a centralized system known as AFIS. He said it's also entirely possible that Sutherland never went on to commit other violent acts, but he said there isn't enough statistical data about serial criminals to have an informed discussion about it. The former cop said one thing is certain. It's a clear example of ain't science wonderful. Sutherland is scheduled to appear in court soon in 2023. One of Aaron Gilmore's brothers, Shaw Maowan, had this to say about the arrest. "The best call I've ever received. This is a day that I and we have been waiting almost an entire lifetime for." Maowan said, for nearly 4 decades, the culprit had been a ghost, adding that his mother, who passed away 2 years ago, never recovered from the loss of her only daughter. Maowan said, "She would have been so relieved that there had been an arrest and so happy that someone will face justice after being anonymous for 39 years.